Do you ever wonder if there's a framework on how to achieve that $1 million business that you've dreamt of? Because the what to do's are all available. There's tons and tons of programs, mentorship courses that you can take on building a business. But how do you do it? What do you do if somebody stabs you in the back? What do you do if a deal goes south? When do you hire people? When should you not hire people? When do you delegate? When you don't delegate? How to go about fixing all those issues that pop up every day in the morning on your email when you're running a business? All of that and more in today's video. Stay tuned. Hey guys, my name's Yahya, founder and creator of Record Breaker, where I help you break past your financial and mindset records by unleashing the power of your mind in the shortest amount of time. And in today's video, I give you the framework for creating that multi-million-dollar business that you've always dreamt of. Now, this video and the points that I give you, the 11-point system, has been developed over more than a decade of me personally growing businesses and companies to 8, 7, and 6 figures. And it's taken a while for me to develop, literally retrospect and look back on how I did what I did, how I achieved what I achieved, because the world only sees the what. All right, you made so much money. All right, you changed your physique. All right, you did this, that, and the other. Everybody wants to know the how, and very few people share the how. So in today's video, I'm going to give you the points and the systems that constitute something that was only available to me in retrospect, but they basically became habits. And I became habituated to using those things in my life and my businesses, and then boom, that's when the magic started to happen. So let's start with habit number 1, to be able to remain calm and relax and operate in a very calm manner in high stress situations. Now, this one's pretty much a no-brainer, but it took me a while to figure this out. I was one of those people who used to think that it's good to be stressed out. I used to think that I was very acute and astute and very sharp-minded when I was under stress. I was one of those people who's going around telling people, you know, I do well under stress. I like stress, this, that, and the other. But in reality, I was taking suboptimal decisions. I was taking stupid decisions. Because there's only so much stress we can take before we start spilling at the seams, before we start breaking apart, before we start compromising our decision-taking ability. So I had to learn this the hard way by messing up multiple times, having panic attacks, so on and so forth. But I had to learn to put a lid on it. I had to learn to let it go. I had to learn to decompress. I had to learn to disseminate and finish off all the stress that I absorbed every single day. Now, you can do this in a multitude of ways. Some people journal, other people meditate. You can go for walks, some people exercise. It's very easy, it's very practical, it's very popular, but you need a method to disseminate the stress you're taking, and you need to be doing this daily. Quarterly or half-yearly vacations just don't cut it. If you're an entrepreneur, you do not decompress even on weekends. You need to decompress every single day. And that will in turn allow you to be very calm and relaxed in high-stress situations. Time boxing. Now, this is something I've been doing, again, in retrospect. This is something I realized I've been doing since I was in school. O-level exams for the American system, that's high school. We used to take multiple choice questions, and all our exams would be time-bound. So I got in the habit of reverse engineering all my questions, all the things that were pertaining to them, and then allotting specific time slots to those questions. And I put my watch down. I put it down and I would time myself. And the moment the timer was done, I would move on to the next part, even if the question wasn't complete. Even if I didn't have the time to finish it, I'd move on. The left-brained side of me took over, and I would go about it very logically. Now, more often than not, what it led to was me being able to come back, me finishing the whole thing in a short amount of time, coming back and then answering all the questions I had. Now, I used this habit again and again throughout my career. So in time boxing, it's pretty simple. What you do is you set deadlines to every task, every meeting, whatever you have to do, whether it's creation, whether it's fulfillment, whether it's meetings, operations, so on and so forth. And when you set a deadline, your subconscious mind automatically makes it happen. There's a very famous saying that's like, your mind will expand to envelop the amount of time you give it to accomplish a certain task. So give it less time and it'll accomplish the certain task with the same amount of proficiency that the longer time would have taken in a short amount of time. Start using it. It's going to be a game changer for you. Chunking. Now, I don't know what the official professional word for this is, but I started this in pretty much my second business. So, operations, responding to emails, having meetings, this, that, and the other, certain amount of hours, boom, done. Creation. marketing campaigns, sales campaigns, anything that needed me to tap into my creative brain, be in that creative space and that creative element another time. Because human beings, and I realize again in retrospect, we're not designed to switch and put on different hats very, very quickly. It takes a while to get into you speak to any creative person, they're going to tell you it takes a while to get the creative juices flowing. It takes a while to be able to come up with good things. So you need chunks of time where you're wearing different hats. Operations is different, creative is different, so on and so forth. I personally use the morning for deep work, inner work, and creativity. And then the rest of the afternoon, I use that for all operational, tactical things that need to be done. And then the evening is for disconnecting. Point number 4. This is a big one from me. I have, for most of my life, been a perfectionist. I was very careful about dotting the I's and crossing the T's. And for me, everything had to be meticulously done and achieve a level of perfection that was pretty much humanly impossible. I had to learn to become anti-perfect because there's a saying, and all of you know this, done is better than good. Good is better than perfect. So I realized that all the time I was spending getting things just right didn't really matter. There were no incremental gains to be achieved by spending a disproportionately high amount of time on getting something just right. Just wasn't. You're in business, you're running a business, you're not creating a painting. There needs to be no emotion, there needs to be no romance, there needs to be no ego involved in running a business. You run it logically, systematically, through methods and mechanisms through time. So I became anti-perfect. B- approach towards everything, not even A+. Because remember, guys, most entrepreneurs, we tend to be perfectionists. We tend to be people pleasers. We tend to go that extra mile to get things done and running. But sooner or later, we start running out of mileage. We start running out of fuel to keep going that extra mile. And we've habituated ourselves to go that extra mile. So when we don't, we feel bad. And we start predicating the whole performance of our business on whether we were perfect or not, which is just a very bad way to predicate your whole business on. It needs to be predicated on bigger, better, sounder foundations, such as principles, such as processes, such as procedures. So no more perfectionism. Learning to manage my attention span. Learning to stop paying attention where it wasn't required. Learning to stop trying to make everybody happy. In my third business, one of my bosses, when he gave me a task that was relatively unpleasant, and I went to him and I said, look, the people I need to talk to, the managers, they're not going to be happy when I talk to them about this. And he told me, golden words, shout out to Adil Zaman, golden words. He was like, yeah, you're here to do a job. You're here to hit certain benchmarks, KPIs, and metrics. You are not here to make people happy. So get your priorities straight. Same concept applies to you because remember, you have limited attention. You have just very limited bandwidth in your brain. And there's only so many things that you can allow to sit there for a certain amount of time while you're processing them. People's opinions, people's preferences, small things, details, X, Y, and Z, you get to decide what needs to be important because not all of them can be important at the same time. You also get to decide where you draw the line. Your attention span needs to be strategic. You need to be thinking like an owner, not an operator. A lot of people make this mistake. They start thinking like someone in the business instead of thinking like someone running the business. So you need to differentiate between working in the business or working on the business. Learn to manage your attention span. If somebody said something you don't like, lump it, move on. If somebody has an opinion about a certain thing and they're not the expert, move on. If something is a small, tiny problem and it doesn't influence or impact the larger, grander scheme of things, move on. That brings me to point number 6, not solving every problem that came up. This is a big one. And the big thing about this is you're going to be growing a business. You're not maintaining a business. A lot of people get this wrong. They think they need to be the same person who started when they're at 100,000. And then they think they need to be the same person at 100,000 to hit 1 million. No, it doesn't work that way. You need to be constantly growing and evolving. So the problems that were there in the beginning aren't going to be there a little way down the journey. So you need to decide which problems need to be solved. And what that means is focusing only on the problems that stop the needle from moving forward. If it's a problem, if it's a temporary problem, if it's a problem that's going to auto-resolve itself, or if it's a problem that doesn't constitute to your sales, to a large number of your sales or the operations of your business, it doesn't need to be solved. when you're growing, you need to embrace the fact that things are going to break. You're no longer the company or the entrepreneur or the solopreneur you used to be 6 months ago, 3 months ago, 1 year ago. You're not. So stop paying attention to those problems. You have. We all do. We all become habituated to solving certain problems, but we need to keep evolving with the business. Those problems may not need to be solved. Our attention span is better spent elsewhere on growing the business. Remember, you always want to be in a position where you can make money instead of a position where you're trying to save money. The more capable you are of making money, the less you have to worry about saving money. So learn to pick your problems and your battles wisely. Point number 7, not getting romantic about my products, my business divisions, certain endeavors, certain projects. Zero romantic ego attachment. Doesn't matter how hard I worked, doesn't matter how good I felt about it, does not matter. It is a business. So we do not get romantic about brands, projects, launches, so on and so forth. Why? Because this leads to confusion. It leads to emotion creeping into a place where it doesn't belong. Running a business is relatively logical. So emotion tends to skew the numbers, and you need to be able to look at the numbers. Very closely linked to numbers is paralysis through analysis. Do not be a person who gets overwhelmed by data and just gets so confused that you're unable to take a decision. Because remember, not taking a decision is taking a decision. I'm going to say that again. Not taking a decision in the amount of time that it needs to be taken in is also taking a decision. So learn to stop getting attached to things that don't matter and learn to take decisions. And speaking of decisions, I made an entire video on how to make the right decision in the shortest amount of time. If you're interested in that, I'm going to link it here. Check it out. Next point, understanding the art of delegation. And I call this an art because most people get this wrong. In one of my earlier companies, I developed a reputation as being a great manager for difficult to manage people. Now, here's the thing, and I have to embrace this. As a perfectionist, as a doer, as someone who had mastered the art to a large extent of doing most of the aspects of my business, I would delegate to people, and then when they finished their work, I would go and review their work and do their work again. And the logic was, look, I'll just do it much faster than this person. But that logic means that person's never going to learn. That's one thing. If you delegate wholeheartedly, and you delegate with the assumption and the understanding that the person is not as good as you. They never will be. They cannot be you. So you delegate to them because they are saving you time, and that time is spent in you making money. Understand that equation. If you can make more money by delegating to the person, delegate. The next part to understand about the art of delegation is when to delegate. Most people are too quick to start hiring people. They haven't hit certain financial benchmarks, and they start hiring people thinking that people who they hire in their organization are going to help them speed things up. You only hire when you have an excess of sales and opportunity, because whenever you hire people and you plug them into your organization and you start delegating things that you were previously doing, those people are going to take their learning curve to understand what level you were at and start operating proficiently. Understand that. Stop hiring people thinking they're going to save your life. Stop hiring people thinking you're not good at your business, or somehow magically they're going to fix your business. Does not work that way. Next point is related to hiring, but it's a very important point. Always hire people who are better than you, more experienced than you, smarter than you. This is something I've done in all my businesses, all of them. From the first to the last. I remember in the second, third, and fourth businesses that I ran, my direct reports, the people who worked for me, were 15, 20, sometimes even 30 years older than me. More experienced, more knowledgeable, older than me. And I trusted them to do the right thing, and they were smart. And the big problem here is people getting a little insecure, or people getting a little overwhelmed, or people getting all up in their ego about, oh, why should I listen to this person? I'm the CEO, blah, blah, blah. Look, you're hiring a person to do a job. It's got to be a very matter-of-fact thing. The reason you hire someone is that they can take the load off of you and ideally do a better job than you to begin with. So if you're hiring someone smart and good and experienced, let them do what they're good at. Stop interfering. And also trust them, because at the end of the day, you still are the boss, but it doesn't need to be an ego battle. I work with people who who were 2, 3 decades older than me, and I was absolutely fine. I made friends with them, I trusted them, I relied on them. It takes nothing away from me as the business owner. It doesn't demean my position, and it will not demean yours. Point number 10. Believing in yourself to an almost delusional level. Now, this might seem cliched, but it's true. You have to be borderline delusional in how you believe in yourself and your ability to achieve. Because remember, if you're starting out, and chances are if you're trying to grow, you are starting out, you're not going to have cheerleaders. You're not going to have a lot of people who believe in you. You're not going to have a lot of people bucking you on and telling you, great job, blah, 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 blah. No, you need to be your biggest cheerleader. And that, my friends, needs to become a habit, which means your default level of belief needs to be, I'm going to do this. Now, as you progress, and as I progressed throughout my businesses, my confidence kept building up, my skill set kept building up, my experiences kept building up. So obviously I had way more belief in my 5th business than I did in my 1st business. But every single business comes with its own challenges, and my 5th business came with a lot more challenges and grew a lot faster than my 1st one did. Why? Because at some point in time, I was like, no, yeah, you need to believe in yourself. You need to believe that somehow it's going to happen. This is very closely linked to having faith. Now, whatever faith you have, you believe in God, the universe, or whatever, you need to have faith in something that things are going to work out. Because if you think, or if you embrace the philosophy that you are the only one who needs to make things happen, that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of stress. That's a lot of sleepless nights. And your boy did this for almost 10 years. I became so obsessed with the ego and with performance and with me running a ship and with me being the top performer and the high achiever and this, that, and the other, that I stopped believing that, look, at the end of the day, I'm just one guy doing the best he can. There's a lot of other factors at play that are beyond my control. And believe me, I tried to control them. I tried my level best and I lost horribly. And then I had to learn to believe in myself, trust the process, and have faith that things are going to work out. This has been monumental. This has been highly transformative in the way I showed up, in the success I achieved, in the way I helped and navigate with people, employees, friends, family, business partners, associates. Complete game changer. If I was to pick a habit that trumps all habits, I pick belief. I made an entire video where I interviewed a client of mine who changed his whole business using belief only. If you're interested in that, check that out. And the last point number 11, is having integrity. Now, this is a habit that I do not take credit for. This is not me tooting my own horn. This has nothing to do with me. It is simply a set and ethical framework that my parents gave me growing up. And it included some pretty simple things. It included being fair. Being fair across the board with people, whether somebody else was watching or not, whether I stood to lose something or not, whether someone was stronger than me or weaker than me. Be fair. Treat someone the way you would want them to treat you. And the way to do this is very easy. You have to put yourself in their shoes and imagine what sort of treatment would you consider fair if you were them. Now, this does not mean, being fair does not mean first convincing yourself that I'm going to keep the money or I'm going to screw this person over because they deserve it. Like, it doesn't include talking yourself into doing something that's beneficial for you, and then rationalizing why the other person deserved it or why they didn't do their job or this, that, and the other. It doesn't involve any of that. It involves removing your ego from the equation. It involves being magnanimous. And I'll tell you why integrity is so important, because I didn't realize in the beginning. I didn't even realize I was operating from an integrity point of view. I've done lots of things that I'm not happy about. I've done things I'm ashamed of. I would never do again. But I've learned my lesson. But generally speaking, I operated from a point of integrity where I didn't hurt people willingly. I tried to be fair. I tried to do the right thing. I tried to help people. These are just basic qualities that people have. Here's how integrity helped me, and it helped me a lot, all my businesses. You are known not by what you've achieved. You are known not by how you talk about yourself. You are known not by the money you make. You are known by what people have to say about you when you leave the room. This is something I didn't know for the longest period of time. But in recent years, it came to my attention that some very powerful people who worked with me, who did business with me, who supported me, etc., They didn't do it because they believed in the company I was representing or the brand I was representing or the money I was going to make for them. They did it because of me. They did it because they liked me and the way I operated and my reputation. Because guys, remember, if you're going to grow a big business, the number one thing you have in your favor is your reputation, your goodwill. You can be wrong and still have integrity, and people will be absolutely fine with you. You can be right and not have integrity, and people will destroy you. You are known by the company you keep. At the end of the day, your integrity defines who you are. Your integrity also defines the sort of people who will want to work with you. Your integrity defines the clientele that you're going to attract. Your integrity defines the people who will want to work in your organization. Your integrity defines the business partners you're going to have. And at the end of the day, your integrity also defines the consumers who are going to buy from you. It is extremely important. And with that said, these are the 11 golden rules, 11-point system that I use and I recommend to all my clients for navigating the how to achieve those $1 million businesses. I hope you find this useful. I'm going to link another video here that's going to tell you how to start, and I'm going to link another video which is going to give you examples of people who've achieved these things. And until next time, take care. Bye-bye.